Partisan left-wing media is very dishonest. If you want to know the truth about what happened with Jacob Blake, you're much better off listening to right-wing media channels, establishment right-wing media channels, like even someone as awful as Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool. You're going to get more facts about Jacob Blake by listening to those folks. If you listen to TYT about that topic, you're not going to get as much truth. You're going to get a lot of manipulation and half-truths. Right? The way that it works with partisan media is convenient narratives bring out good journalism. Inconvenient narratives bring out propaganda. If TYT speaks about Jacob Blake, if TYT speaks about the would appear to be a black supremacist that attacked that parade in Waukesha, you're going to get a lot of propaganda from the Young Turks. But with the so-called FBI raid on Donald Trump, remember the formula. Convenient narratives bring good journalism. Inconvenient narratives bring propaganda. The so-called raid on Donald Trump is inconvenient to the right, and therefore right-wing media that works for the establishment Republican Party. So that means you can expect excessive levels of propaganda and half-truths and manipulation and distractions and deflections and whataboutism. That's what you're going to get. That's what you always get from propaganda, partisan, left-wing or right-wing media when there's an inconvenient narrative. The so-called raid on Donald Trump is a convenient narrative for the left and for the liberals. So therefore, just like Jacob Blake is a story to listen to the right about, not that they haven't said anything dishonest about that, but there's a lot of truth and information you can get from them. Well, if you want to know about the so-called raid on Donald Trump, then you want to listen to the media that story is convenient for, which is liberal media and the left. Case in point, TYT. Track record of dishonesty and manipulation and half-truths. Look at the excellent journalism that they would deliver on this convenient narrative.
And whatever, a guy has apparently threatened the FBI headquarters in Cincinnati, Ohio. Local news stations say that the man made threats there and then promptly drove away. The Ohio State Patrol then pursued him. They announced a lockdown around the area. And apparently, as of at least recently, that guy was involved in a standoff with police and multiple shots had been fired. Now, I want you to be very careful about any of these facts because they are changing rapidly. So he is said to have had an AR-15 style weapon, but they also said that as he was going to leave the FBI building and he was being pursued, he apparently fired a nail gun at some of the agents who were following him. So I don't know what, if any of that will turn out to be true. If he is involved in a standoff, I don't know for sure.
Notice how immediately upon beginning the story, he is challenging the narrative that is being put out about this attack on the FBI. He picked up on something that I picked up on as well, where they talked about the AR-15 style weapon, and then they talk about the nail gun. Why are you using a nail gun if you have an AR-15 style weapon? That's the first thing that I thought about. And he very excellently picked up on that, and he's pointing it out to his audience. He's keeping them informed. He doesn't just go out there and say, oh, this MAGA guy attacked the FBI and he shot up the place with the AR-15 and da-da-da. He says, okay, this is what we're being told, but just so you know, I mean, the story is changing rapidly and there's something fishy about the AR-15 style weapon and then the nail gun, like, what's up? Like, that is good journalism, right? Like, you won't get this level of journalism about Jacob Blake, but you will get it about the so-called Trump raid. You won't get good journalism like this from the right-wing media about this raid, which is an inconvenient narrative.
Sure that shots have been fired, and if they were, whether they came from the rifle, which might or might not exist, or the nail gun, which he for some reason apparently has. But as of right now, that's what we know. A guy decided this week to go to the FBI headquarters, make threats, and is now engaged in some sort of shootout, according to initial reports. Adrian, I know you've been looking for the latest news on this because we're doing this live. What have you been seeing?
Okay, so in terms of the FBI, I actually I haven't necessarily seen anything specific as about this incident, although I do believe this is a direct product of Trump and GOP waging this verbal attack on the FBI because they raided Mar-a-Lago. But the news just
absolutely, right. The same people who would want to make a connection between violent video games and violent rap music or whatever, and the actions that people take, will pretend as if a video game has more influence than something like this that has a direct and visceral connection to the audience. What do you think people have more emotional connection to? Donald Trump as a cult of personality, and not just him, because he presents himself like he's representing them. He says, they're not after me, they're after you, but I'm just in their way, right? So he presents it as when they're attacking him, they're not really attacking him, they're attacking them, right? So this is the FBI. Next thing, they're coming into your house. Which do you think has more influence on people's behavior? That situation that has that level of emotional connection, or some random video game of some made-up story, military guys going and attacking some building or whatever? Would you really talk about violent music and video games as if that has influence, and then pretend as if the entire right-wing media getting all outraged and this is an attack and this and that and this is war and we got to fight back and the hill to die on? Well, I don't mean be violent. I'm not saying be violent, but you know what? You should be afraid. You should be very afraid. But I'm not saying to go kill anybody. I'm not saying to go launch any bombs or anything. But you should be afraid. Be afraid. Be afraid. They're coming for you. They're coming for your children. They're coming for everybody. Oh, but be peaceful. Be peaceful. So if anybody says I'm trying to start violence, just remember that I said be peaceful. That's gonna cover me no matter what I do, no matter how angry that I get you and how, over the top, oh my goodness, blah, 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 blah. No matter all of that stuff, just remember that there's a line or two or three where I said peaceful. Right. Not a big fan of the Young Turks, but this is good journalism. Reports the story, and not just throwing it out to the convenient narrative. The convenient narrative is just to say, oh, look what MAGA did. MAGA shot up the place and blah, 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 right? Don't really care about the facts. Just care about this is good stuff that you're going to get views from. But no, they go beyond that and they say, hold on, guys. The story's constantly changing. And some of this stuff might not actually be true. Right? Is anyone in the right-wing media posing any questions at all whatsoever about Trump in terms of maybe he might be misleading, or he might be lying about something, or he might be saying something that's not true? Or are they entirely focused on making the other the enemy and the bad people, and they're coming for you and we've got to stand up together? Right. This is Baby Channel, the Baby comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.